Hey everybody, it is You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions. And this week my first question comes from Otis McNutt, who says, "Hey Steve, I've led a fairly sheltered life and not had much experience dealing with death until recently. For the past year, I've been a patient at a physical therapy rehab that also functions as an assisted living facility, and during my stay, the coroner's van has visited fairly regularly, several times in fact. Actually, a resident I was friendly with passed, and there was a memorial service for her, and I felt compelled to go, but didn't. I felt that as an atheist, my attending a religious service to be disingenuous. Thoughts?" I don't think it would have been disingenuous if you felt compelled to go to pay your respects to someone that you were friends with. I don't think it's dishonest or disingenuous or inappropriate for an atheist to attend a memorial service, even if it is like a memorial service that has a religious character to it, if the person that is being memorialized is someone who meant something to you, or if you're going to support other friends or family members or anything like that. I mean, there are reasons to go to religious ceremonies, religious services, if you yourself are not a member of the religion, or if you do not recognize the beliefs of the religion. And, you know, sometimes it's good just to go and say goodbye, or good to pay your respects, or to grieve or support other people who knew the deceased. So no, I don't think it would have been inappropriate. I mean, now, if you would have been uncomfortable because of that, then that's completely understandable. I'm not trying to guilt trip you for not going. But just the mere fact that you do not share the faith that is, being recognized or being appealed to in the memorial service, that by itself I don't think is a reason to not go. Gagaplex. I'm not an American, so my perspective may be skewed here, and I guess I'm not directly affected anyway. Still, I have to say that I've kind of resigned on the topic of gun control in the USA. I used to be in favor of improving background checks, licensing, requirements, and whatnot, but with the various shootings, Charleston most recently, but Sandy Hook still brightly in my memory, and with basically no changes happening ever, I've come to believe that there's no will to do anything. Plus, and this is something where I have to agree with the gun fans, isn't it already too late to walk back the current situation? There are hundreds of millions of firearms circulating already. What do you think, Steve? Wouldn't you first need a rather extreme change in mentality in the populace before something legislative could accomplish much of anything at this point? The gun control thing is really, really depressing because it's something that, to me, we obviously need to get our shit together on. We obviously need to do something radically different than what we are doing because it's just not working. But you're right, there's no political will to do it at all. There's half the country that seems bound and determined to do nothing about it, and then there's the other half that is really too chicken shit to really try to do something about it. And maybe they're right to be because the other half all have guns. So I don't know. I do think there can be legislative measures that could be effective. Now, you're right to say that the situation as it stands is pretty dire because there are just so many guns in circulation. Even if we cut off gun sales immediately, even if like the redneck's worst nightmare came true and there were no more guns being sold in the country at all and the Second Amendment was repealed and blah, 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 we still have a situation right now, if we froze everything, where there are millions and millions and millions of guns in circulation, in private ownerships, or in gun shops, or at gun shows, or being traded back and forth. They're just on the street, illegal guns. There's just so many goddamn guns. And what do you do about that? One thing you can do, which is certainly not a comprehensive solution, but which would at least help, and which is something that we should be doing right now, is to have a government-sponsored firearm buyback. To have a buyback program, and I would love it to be a federally funded program that has offices or locations in all 50 states where if you are a gun owner and you want to relinquish your guns, that you can go and give them away or sell them at a fair price to a government depot, which would then destroy them. I don't understand why we're not doing that. I mean, I know why we're not doing it because the gun lobby writes the gun laws, but as a practical measure to address the gun problem, that's something that we should have been doing years ago. We should be encouraging people to bring in their guns. We should be doing everything we can to take guns out of circulation. Guns that are kept in as police evidence should be destroyed after they're not needed for legal purposes anymore. After the court cases have all been adjudicated, the guns should be destroyed, but in many cases they're actually resold, they're auctioned off. And in fact, as crazy as this is, in some jurisdictions, thanks to the NRA, there are even laws against destroying guns that are in police evidence. The police it's illegal for them to destroy them. They either have to hold them indefinitely or sell them back into the market. It's ridiculous. It's sick. So those are some things I think that we could handle legislatively, at least in theory, that would do some good towards addressing just the circulation problem. But you're right, it's kind of a fucked situation and it's kind of hopeless. Thanks for asking such a great question. Requinix 17. Hi Steve, recently my grandmother passed away. After the memorial service earlier this week, I got to thinking about the saying, there are no atheists in foxholes. For me, as an atheist, if I were put in a situation where my life is in serious danger, or if I knew I was imminently dying, I imagine that I would probably pray to God, being scared shitless. When we as humans have a need that can't be met, which will undoubtedly happen to all of us at some point, there is a factor of desperation that comes into play. I have often callously dismissed belief in God as a coping mechanism, but when I think about it, if that is really true, I feel deep sympathy for believers. Maybe a lot of people are in foxholes of some kind or another, or maybe we are all in a foxhole but just don't like to think about it. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Would you pray to God on your deathbed? And if so, at what point would you start trying? You know, I can't say if I would ever pray to God on my deathbed or pray to God in like an extreme situation, a moment of crisis, even though I know that there probably isn't a God. But I completely sympathize with what you're saying. And I don't think that instinct to want to reach out in desperation to something that you know probably isn't there, but you figure, hey, what's it going to hurt? I don't think that's something people should be ashamed of. I think that's just a part of human nature. I think both that instinct, that impulse to just go for it and just take the chance because you figure, what have I got to lose? And also that feeling of there needing to be something more, of there needing to be a way out, of there needing to be an escape or a way to resolve this or a way that you can survive this, even if you know intellectually that there probably isn't. I think that's just a natural human impulse. I think that's something that we have evolved along with lots of other things. And it doesn't mean that it's right, and it doesn't mean that it's good, and it doesn't mean that those feelings represent reality, but it's a part of our humanity. Those are just natural feelings, and I think we should understand them, and I think we should put them in their proper context, and I don't think we should use them, I don't think we should use our desire to believe in these things as evidence that those things actually exist, as many religious folks try to do. But I don't think we should be ashamed of them either. I mean, it's a part of who we are. I think it needs to be understood, and it needs to be sympathized with, and it needs to be recognized as a part of our humanity. Becca Hawkins. Hey Steve, do you ever still encounter the common Christian phrase, Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship? As a Christian myself, that cliche grates on me. My reaction to it is, well, of course Christianity is a religion. We do religious practices like praying, going to church services to worship God, etc. From your atheist perspective, what is your reaction to this slogan, if you still encounter it, and what are your theories as to where it comes from? All religions have different sects, have different what Christians call denominations, and everybody believes that their denomination, that their interpretation is the right one. So there's that desire of wanting to feel like, well, there are all these other people doing similar stuff. How do we know that we're right? A Christian that can say, well, you see, the difference is they're doing religion and what we have is a relationship. You can frame it as though what you're doing is fundamentally different than what all those other people are doing. So then you don't have to contend with that question of how is your religion different from their religion, or why should your religion be considered true while theirs is considered false. You don't have to deal with that. You can say, well, we're not a religion. It's a relationship. It's a relationship between you and Christ. It's not a religion. I think you're right to recognize that that's a dishonest statement. I think it's important, whether you are a Christian or not, to recognize that Christianity is a religion. I mean, it fits every definition of a religion. There is no argument that you can make that Christianity is not a religion. There is no fair definition of religion that you could come up with that would exclude Christianity from that definition. And it does get on my nerves. I mean, I do encounter it. I encounter it when I read apologetics books that I review for my channel here. I encounter it from time to time. I encounter it occasionally with Christian friends who try to say that. And I wonder, does that ever work? Like, do you ever say that to a non-believer and have them say, oh, really? Tell me more about that. Or do they always just immediately call bullshit on it? Even if not to your face, in their head they go, oh, that's bullshit. I don't know if that ever works. I think maybe it's just an act of self-flattery. It's a way of making themselves feel better, saying, well, they have religion, but I have a relationship. But I do think it's dishonest, and it does annoy me a little bit. Warlord27753, 2 quick questions about Steve and Stuffy. 1, it's a common question to ask why Stuffy doesn't just leave Steve and the gang. I have a different question, though. Why is Millicent there? She's basically a husky supremacist and doesn't fit in at all with the gang. Is she just too emotionally connected to leave, or what? 2, can you do an impression of Where's My Money Baby in all of the voices for each character? Why doesn't Millicent leave? I think the answer is, it's sort of similar to why all the puppets in Jason with a D's Opinionville are still there, even though they often don't get along. I think that they're really just friends deep down. I think Millicent likes the other characters. She might not ever admit it, and of course she is a husky supremacist. You're quite right about that. And she's very snooty and very conceited, but I think deep down she really likes the other characters. I think she likes Stuffy. I think she likes Toby Benson and Jack and even me. There have been episodes in the past where it seems like she and Stuffy get along with each other. Even if they're not close and they don't really like each other, it seems like they don't really have anything against each other. And Stuffy doesn't have anything against anybody. But Millicent doesn't seem to really, get irritated by Stuffy as much as she does some of the others. So I think that's part of it. And you want me to say, Where's My Money Baby in all of the voices for each character? Well, I'll do the ones that I do the voices for, because of course I don't do the voice of Millicent anymore. My lovely wife does the voice of Millicent. Okay, Toby Benson, of course, would be, Where's My Money Baby? Stuffy, Where's My Money Baby? Jack McPherson, Hey, where's my money, baby? I don't know if he would even actually say that line, but that's what it would sound like. Hans Krieger, Yeah, where is my money, baby? Prospector Jones, Well, sir, where's my money, baby? And Millicent, would you like to do Millicent?
Where's my money, baby?
There you go.
Unbelievable.
Laura Smith, Dear Steve, I'm a feminist female and now I feel conflicted. Last week my boyfriend and I went out and this junkie girl was trying to take my purse. My boyfriend stepped in trying to get her off me, and then she started attacking my boyfriend with punches and kicks. My boyfriend was trying the best he could not to lay hands on her and to just hold her. People were watching and laughing while the junkie girl was hitting my boyfriend, but then when my boyfriend decided to retaliate and hit her back, a bunch of guys came rushing in and started defending her, yelling at him, "You should never ever hit a girl, pussy bitch ass," and things like this. I understand that men are stronger than women, but in this case, the girl was really strong and was trying to harm me and him, and when he retaliated, he only used enough force to defend himself. He didn't go as hard as he could either. This experience has really messed with my emotions and my view on feminism. I'm still a feminist, but something about this experience is making me question some things. I could use your thoughts or advice. Thank you, and I love your channel. I think the people who were the bystanders were half right and half wrong. I think they were right to be upset at the sight of a man hitting a woman, even though the way you describe it, it's not as if he was being abusive to her. He was defending himself, and maybe he just sort of reached the end of his rope and he just figured, you know what, the hell with this. In that sort of extreme emotional state, it still doesn't excuse it. It's never okay, but it's a little more understandable than if he was just being an abusive jerk to a woman. But the bystanders, I think, should have, if they were going to step in when he hit the woman who was attacking him, they should have done more than stand around and laugh when the woman was attacking him. It wouldn't have hurt for someone to step in and just sort of get between her and your boyfriend to just kind of separate things and settle things down. I think that kind of early intervention would have prevented all of what happened next. I don't think that the instinct to say that men should not hit women is a bad thing. Even though it sounds like the junkie girl, as you call her, was really a handful and needed to be sort of separated, and someone needed to intervene and kind of calm her down and diffuse that situation. And even though I can put myself in your boyfriend's headspace, and yes, he's being attacked and you are being attacked and he wants to protect you, and he loses his temper, cooler heads do not prevail, and he does something that he's probably sorry that he did. I know even if I felt completely justified in the moment, if I hit a woman, I would feel terrible about it. Even if I felt like, she had provoked me to do it. I just don't think it's something that guys should do. And I mean, I don't think that people should hit anybody. I don't want to say that it's okay if a woman hits a man or if a man hits another man. I don't think it's ever okay. I think violence should be avoided at all costs. But particularly, given all of the cultural baggage, plus the size and strength differential that is typical for men and women, it's not in every situation, but guys are usually bigger and stronger than women. Given those factors, I just think it's never a good idea. It's never a good idea for a man to hit a woman. But the people who were standing around who thought it was funny when the woman was going off on your boyfriend, if they were that concerned about it, I think they should have stepped in before it got to that point. When it was clear that your boyfriend was not able to handle it, that he was sort of doing his best to fend her off and it wasn't working. I think somebody else should have stepped in and helped him out a little bit to help restrain her without it leading to that kind of violence. Twee-Sparkle. Dear Steve, sir, I have a question about atheist morality. Christians say that the reason atheists feel a sense of morality is because all humans have God's morality inside them, deep down. One argument against this is psychopaths, sociopaths, but I was wondering if vegans or vegetarians can also be an argument against Christians. If God's morals are inside all of us, the ability to feel right and wrong, then why do people feel guilt about things that aren't a sin? Can this be a good argument against Christians? I'm new to atheism and debating. Thank you, sir. P.S. In a YouTube video, Ray Comfort made fun of vegans, vegetarians, calling us silly for caring about chickens, cows, etc., because it's God's will and that we should just suck it up and eat them. Fuck that shitface and his fucking cum target for making fun of us. Thoughts? I actually think that's a really interesting argument. If you're going to say that our innate moral sense is evidence of God, then what gives with that innate moral sense wanting us to feel compassion about things that Christianity tells us we don't need to feel compassion for? That's a really great argument. And you can also flip it around and say, maybe it's evidence that God is there and that our morality does come from God, but maybe God is a vegetarian. Maybe that's the message. Maybe our morality does come from God, but we've got the meat-eating thing wrong. Maybe God wants us to be vegetarians. As an atheist, I of course think that our morals don't come from God. They come from ourselves and from our biology and from our culture and things like that. I think that morals are human constructs and very useful ones. Perhaps the best, most necessary and useful constructs we've ever come up with. But yeah, I think that's a really clever argument. If you're going to appeal to human morality as evidence for God, then we have to appeal to the whole broad spectrum of human morality. We can't just pick and choose and say, well, the morals that happen to line up with our religious beliefs are the right ones, and the other ones are just, you need to grow up and just eat the chickens and suck it up and accept that it's God's will. That's kind of a shifty argument. That's sort of biased to say, well, these morals count, but these don't, if we equally feel them from within us. And yeah, Ray, don't pay too much attention to Ray Comfort. I did a book review series on him, and trust me, he's not someone to be taken seriously. Speaking of not taking things seriously, for instance, the questions I'm about to answer. It's time for
The lightning round. Rapid fire questions. Glib and adequate answers.
Hector Defendi. Can I have your hat? No, you can't have my hat, but if I ever get like super famous, maybe I'll auction one off or give one away as a prize, you know? Look, a real Steve hat, actually worn in a video. Don't hold your breath for that to happen. JJ Talks. What would it take for you to get into a physical fight with someone? I could knock you out. Well, I don't think I would ever get into a physical fight with you, JJ, unless you started it and you actually did knock me out. I mean, I wouldn't fight back, so you'd be kind of being a bully if you knocked me out. Although it probably would make you feel good, you know. It would have to be somebody fucking with my friends or with my wife or something. I don't think anybody could provoke me to fighting them just by like giving me shit. It would have to, but when people fuck with my friends, that really, really makes me angry. I don't know if that would be enough to make me actually want to physically fight someone, but it would have to be something like that. And you know, if they were fucking with Ashley, or if you and I were somewhere and they were fucking with you, it would make me. But I see, in that case, I don't think it would be necessary. I think whoever was fucking with you would probably be on the ground, and the same thing with Ashley. The person that was fucking with you would be on the ground before I even had a chance to do anything. So. Patrick Dodds. Steve, what non-documentary, mainstream, or independent film that's been made in the past do you think could never be remade today due to its subversive nature? My personal vote is They Live. I would vote for Johnny Got His Gun. I do not think a film that resolutely anti-war and anti-military would be made today. Unless it was like a really independent movie. Because it had trouble being made 40 years ago when it was made. So, yeah, I would go with Johnny Got His Gun. Lucas Hackett, One Angry Brony. Steve, just asking out of the blue, but what was your favorite cartoon growing up as a kid? Mine was Biker Mice from Mars. What about you? As longtime viewers may know, my favorite cartoon as a kid was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Oh, That's the Monster. Do you enjoy American Horror Story? Yes! I love American Horror Story. It's one of my favorite shitty TV shows of all time. I love everything about American Horror Story. I can't wait for the next season. Captain Michael, hi Steve. Have you ever produced a video that you were really worried would upset someone close to you, like a family member or a close friend? Have you ever not released one because of that worry? I have never not released one, but a few years ago I did a video about my maternal grandfather having signed an anti-gay marriage petition that I thought some people in my family might have not liked, and I think a cousin of mine saw it and was a little irritated, but I didn't give a shit, and it didn't stop me from making the video. So yes, in that case, I was aware that it could be a problem, but it didn't stop me from doing it. And I mean, I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't release a video that I thought would compromise someone or would embarrass someone or would, you know, put information out there that wasn't already out there that people didn't want them to know. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't invade my family's privacy or anything. But in this case, it was a publicly published petition. His name was out there for everybody to see, and I felt compelled to talk about it. So that's what I did. And I knew it would piss some people in my family off, but I didn't care. James Phillips, lightning round. If you could choose between Adi having the ability to talk versus Stuffy magically coming to life as he's portrayed, what would you choose and why? Thanks, Steve. P.S. For some reason, you are my favorite YouTuber, and I don't know why. Is that bad? No, it's not bad. It's good. I mean, you could do better than me, but you could also do a hell of a lot worse, especially in the atheist YouTube community. If I had to choose, it would easily be having Stuffy come to life, because I like Adi the way she is. I mean, she can't talk, and sometimes I'm curious as to what she would say if she could talk, but, I mean, Stuffy's just awesome. Stuffy's like the best person ever. Wouldn't you really love it if Stuffy was a real person and not just a fictional character that I was writing? That would be great. Yeah, Stuffy would be my choice. Alex Wagner, the ass-wiping question was stupid, but since you've answered it, I have a follow-up question. How do blind people know when they're done wiping? That is an excellent question, and I happen to know the answer. It is echolocation. They either snap their fingers or they click, and they can tell just by the sound. Their ears are very highly trained, and they can tell by the sound whether they need to keep wiping. They can just kind of click or snap and listen, and they can hear, because it's a very, like when they have to keep wiping, it's kind of a softer sound, you know, and it's more of a sharp sound when they're done, when it's clean. And by the way, all blind people can do this. And if they say they can't, they're just trying to keep the secret. But it's true. All blind people can do this, and that's how they all do it. Anyway, that's it for the questions, everybody. Before I get out of here, I'm going to give you guys a shout out of a deserving person, a deserving organization that deserves your attention. Did I say deserving too many times there? I think I probably did. Usually the shout out goes to someone who is a fellow YouTuber who has a channel that I think you should check out. But this time it's a little different. This time the shout out goes to the Secular Humanist Society of East Texas, which is preparing to hold their second annual Freethought convention, Freethought 2015. Speakers for this event include Matt Dillahunty, Beth Presswood, J.T. Eberhard, Hina Dababoy, and Hugo and Jake of the Bible Reloaded. They will all be there. But the reason why you need to know about it is not only so that you know that this event will actually happen and that you can go to it if you happen to be in the area, but they need your help. There is a link in the description box of this video to the GoFundMe page for the Freethought 2015 convention. And if you can afford it, if you can spare it, please consider supporting this organization and supporting this convention that they're scheduled for October. They need to raise $3,000 to be able to be sure they'll be able to throw this convention to support their activities, and it would be wonderful if they could do it. They did it last year, and it was the first ever secular convention in East Texas, which is pretty cool. And they're doing it again this year, and they need your help. So click on the GoFundMe link in the description box of this video. Go please support the Secular Humanist Society of East Texas. And if you can't afford to contribute to the campaign, consider sharing it. Share it on Facebook or on Twitter. Let people know that this is an event that is happening and that it needs your help and needs your support and deserves your help and your support. Because wouldn't it be great to have a convention in East Texas for the second year in a row and have great atheist secular speakers like Matt Dillahunty and Beth Presswood and J.T. Eberhard and Hina Dababoy and the guys from the Bible Reloaded? That would be pretty cool. So please support that and share it around, spread the word, and help the cause if you can. Also, a little bit of self-promotion, although it's also helping out a friend of mine. As some of you may know, I am co-host of a podcast along with the great, brilliant, hilarious, awesome Jason Harding, also known as Jason with a D, who is the creator and star and writer and everything of Opinionville. He does a series of podcasts called the Lemme Listen Podcasts, and one of them is co-hosted with me. We do a podcast together. It comes up every 2 weeks. It's a movie review podcast called Late Seating that I would really love for you guys to listen to. In fact, I would love for you guys to listen to all of the Lemme Finish podcasts, even the ones that I'm not on, because I just think they're that good and I'm that nice of a guy. You can go to soundcloud.com/Lemme-listen, and that's where you can hear all of them. You can hear Late Seating, which is the one I'm on. You can hear Lemme Finish, which is Jason and Finite Atticus Blake, which is a really, really funny podcast. Atticus tries to tell a story and Jason interrupts him and makes fun of him, and it's a riot. And then there's also American Monsters and How to Destroy Them, which is a fiction comedy podcast about a radio show, sort of like a coast-to-coast AM sort of radio show about cryptozoology, and it's, again, really, really funny. If you're a fan of Night Vale, you might like American Monsters and How to Destroy Them. So all of the Lemme Listen podcasts are well worth your attention and worth your time, and please check them out. That's it. That's all the shilling I'm going to do. I've finished with the questions. I've finished with the shilling. It's time for me to go, but before I go, let me remind you to please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. You can ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious, nothing is too silly, and I will answer as many of them as I possibly can in the next video. So until the next video, thanks for watching, everybody, and take care.